Okay, today I like to also do a demo on trimming a mug. Uh, this is the mug that I throw the other days, and now it's ready to trim. And I usually wait till my mug, my clay, that it's not very sticky, but you still could make some indent. You see that this, you can still make indent. The rim is very firm, and that's the stage that I usually trim that way. You don't want to trim it too wet or too dry. So this is the guideline that when you are trimming, you want to trim at the right stage. And before I trim, I also like to introduce my new, I can say this is my invention. It's the measuring tool that you could use this piece of a tool that you can measure exactly the thickness of the button, and you can trim accordingly. And basically this tool has two holes here that my tool, the ruler, can go through this hole. Okay, and one in the center, one on the side. So first you can measure it, insert it from the center. The ruler has a reading, and I put the measurement, the millimeters, right in the center, so you will be able to see it more clearly. So let's measure the middle point. And from my reading, and you can pull it out if you cannot read it very clearly. Just hold the tool here, and you can pull it out. And my reading here is about 112. Okay, and this is 120, and a little bit more than 110. It's about 112. And then you can hold it here and measure the outer part. And from my reading here, the outside part is about 128. I don't know if you can see it more clearly. So 128 minus 112, it's about 16 millimeters. And 16 millimeters about from here to here. Okay, about this thick. That's the thickness of my mug from my measurement. Okay, so I have an idea that how thick the bottom is, and then I can trim the bottom accordingly. And I just try to use some water there. This is made out of porcelain, so when I finish trimming, it's very easy to clean. The rim will be smooth. So that's the porcelain clay. Right, so now I'm ready to trim. I know that my bottom thickness is around 16 millimeters. And I first try to get the right diameter of my foot. Cut it to roughly that right diameter. You don't want to be making it too narrow or make it too wide. Usually the narrow, the whole piece looks lighter, but if you make it too narrow, then the whole piece is not stable and it's very easy to tip over. So you need to find a balance. So I just kind of roughly remove some clay from the side. And maybe trim the edge of my foot here, trim it flat, and then I'm going to remove the clay from the middle. The clay here, you want to try to remove it so that your clay on the bottom is not too thick. And a lot of people, they are afraid of cutting it through because they don't know exactly how thick the bottom is. And since I have the measurement tool, so that I have more idea how much clay I can cut into. And the ideally of the thickness of the center on the foot, it's about, I would say about a little bit less than 3 millimeters. Since I am throwing all my little pieces from the hum, okay, throw up the hum, so the bottom has not been compressed enough, firm enough, so it's easy to get an ass crack. So if you trim it within 3 millimeters, it prevents that from happening, especially when you have a porcelain clay. So let's double check it. I told you that 60 millimeters of my actual thickness of the base, so I need to go in about like 13 millimeters at least, plus the thickness of this metal here. So I would say 14 is the goal I am looking for. And now it's about 10, so that I know I can go 4 more millimeters. If you try to practice by just tapping the base, okay, so maybe when you're practicing you can have some idea that okay, this is about like 2 millimeters or 3 millimeters or 4 millimeters, that sounds like. And later on you don't need to depend on the measurement, the measuring tool. Okay, let's double check it again. Okay, so now it's about 12, so I know that I can go a little bit more, maybe 2 more. Right, so I will stop right here. Okay, now it's about 14, so I will stop right here. And then just do the final finishing. Especially when I find the right thickness of the bottom, I kind of compare the outside and the inside part. So the outside part has to be a similar height. If the outside is higher, it means that you still have lots of clay that you could remove it. so this is about the foot that I was just stop right here. I usually cut a little a corner here using the corner of my tool to go there. So hopefully when I'm glazing, I usually hold my clay this way and dip it in the glaze. So if I have a little undercut here, a gap here, the glaze usually stop right there, so it doesn't go all over on the foot. And then the good thing for using the water method to stick my mark on the wheel head is that when I'm trimming, I can go all the way down to the bottom. Okay, trim here and then all the way down to the bottom. So that's the good thing of without getting any clay coil here in the way. For here, there's a little curve on the straight edge of the tool. Is hard to take care of it. So this is my number five trimming tool. That there's a little curve here, and the curve actually fits nicely here if I'm trimming all the way down. So just using my number 5 trimming tools to take care of that little curve here. And one more good thing of this tool is that this side is straight, so if I want to trim here, I don't need to change the tool. I can just use the other side to do the trimming, and then connecting the line here so that the line here will be smooth. So this is the use of my number 5 trimming tool that take care of this curve here. There's a little curve here. Okay. And I can just use the back of my tool to, since this is stainless steel, I can use the back of it to compress it. Right, so that's the trimming on the mug, and then I just spin the wheel slowly and just twist. Okay, twist, and I can remove my mug from the wheel head. And here, like I told you, that there's a roughness here. I can just use a sponge to wipe it. Because this is not a stoneware, so using the sponge will not drag out the grog. If you have a stoneware, when you try to smooth the rim, if you use a sponge, you tend to drag out the grog, which it will be rough on the rim. So if you have a stoneware, I suggest you use a paper towel. You just wet it and use the paper towel so that you don't drag out the grog. So this is the mark. It's a little curve, and I finished trimming the foot nicely. And then since this is gonna be a mug, so I need to attach the handle. So in here, I already have my handle made. Today is a little bit wet, so the weather is very damp, so that I made this about like 4 hours ago, but still a little bit too wet, I consider, when I'm joining the handle. But since the it's not very slippery anymore, so I can still attach it. And for attaching the handle, I usually find that a little bit more ugly spot, okay, or not so smooth spot, and the handle, I will always put the handle in that position. And there's a little bumpy here, so I'm going to use this part and attach my handle here. I usually attach maybe a quarter or maybe 3/8 of inch behind, underneath of the rim. Okay, it's about quarter of an inch. So I score it, make it rough. And it would be better if you have a slip. I don't have slip here, so I just use water. And after I score it, then the water and the score spot will become a slip. So I add water here and just cut my handle off. And by the way, this is my number 10 trimming tool. That point is very pointy, so it's easy to cut. So I use this as a needle tool and also a knife combination. This is number 10 trimming tool. I tap the joint. So that it opens a little bit wider. I have a little bit of residual clay here, and later on I'm going to use that residual clay to smooth it, to blend. Okay, so ready to attach. Get my finger behind on the inside and behind where I'm going to attach it, and apply a little bit pressure. Okay, lightly squeeze that. All right, so it's attached, but now I can see that this piece of clay is still kind of wet. And I don't rush to attach it yet. I usually like to let the handle sit for, like this one here is a little bit drier than the handle. So after I compressed it, I let it sit maybe for, depending on the weather, I let it sit maybe like 5 minutes. So the body here will draw some water from the handle, and maybe 5 minutes later, when you smooth, you will find it's a lot more easier, and also it evens out the same dryness. So later on, when the whole piece dry, they don't come apart. They don't have a crack. Okay, the handle is not going to crack from here because you draw some water from there, so the dryness is even out. Okay, so I found out this tip is very important, and a lot of people, when they attach it, they put wax there. I never done that, and I never have a problem with my handle falling apart from the top because I wait 5 minutes, so the dryness of the clay is even out. So I will show you how I finish it up, maybe. Okay, now that's about 5 minutes later, and I'm ready to do the final finish, the joint. So the joint here, you see that there's a little, I don't know if you can see it, okay, a little bit of a clay coming, because when I'm tapping the handle, there's a little clay coming out from there. So I'm going to use the clay to smooth it. and just use a needle tool. So now I'm using slow motion to show you how I smooth the joint. Basically, you are using a needle tool to blend the clay together. And for the bottom part of the handle, you need to find a good location. Basically, you want to be able to insert your fingers, two of your fingers in there. Adding a slip of water right by the joint. And before you compress firmly, I usually put my fingers inside to support it, since my wall is kind of thin. After that, use my thumb to compress firmly. So that's the attaching process. So after I finish attaching the handle, I just let it dry upside down so that this part here doesn't slump, because this is still wet. Okay, so just let it dry this way. Okay, so that's the trimming a mug and join, how I measure it, and also how I join the handle.